Hey everyone, it's Michael. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a review here for a show that I grew up on and I loved, but I didn't get to see a whole lot of, and this is my first time watching from beginning to end all the way through Superman, the animated series. Now, this isn't the first ever Superman cartoon. Of course, we had the Max Fleischer stuff back in the day, and I reviewed that. It's phenomenal. I love that stuff. But I had even tried I think it's the 70s cartoon, and I wasn't super crazy about that. I had like one VHS tape once upon a time. I saw some of Super Friends. I wasn't super crazy about it, to be honest with you. Pardon the pun. But this was and this may surprise you, this was my introduction to Superman as a kid. Matter of fact, I still have an action figure from this show where you turn Superman into Clark Kent, and like Superman's head was collapsible and stuff. It was very odd. He had a backpack to hide the cape in. It was very, very odd. I have some very strange memories with this show. I didn't get to grow up on the Christopher Reeve movies, and so I don't really have like an appreciation for them like a lot of people. But this was Superman to me. Everything from the art style to whatever. I didn't grow up reading comics either, so this is really, really Superman to me. I don't really know where to start because I have a lot of stuff to talk about with this. It's a phenomenal show, but I even have a personal story to talk about. I guess I'll save it on for later on at the end of the video when the when the show put me in the hospital. Yeah, you'll love that one, so tune in later in the video for that. Anyway, so Superman the Animated Series came out in 1996 and it ran till the year 2000, and it's a sister show to Batman the Animated Series, which came out I think in 92, 93, somewhere in there. This show stars Tim Daly as Superman, and he's really, as far as I can remember, the only voice that I remember. I mean, you have like Mr. Krabs playing Lex Luthor. My personal favorite Lex Luthor ever. It's actually like the comics, you know? Not like Gene Hackman or Nicholas Hoult. But anyway, this show is very episodic. It has a lot of two-parters and stuff as well. The two-parters and three-parters and stuff are probably my favorite part of the entire show. But not all of those two-parters are great. You have probably the best adaptation of many of these villains, I would say. I don't know if they did anything like Batman the Animated Series did, where that show created Harley Quinn. She wasn't brought in from the comics, it created it. Created her. I don't know if this show did that, so forgive me if I get that wrong. But the way it portrays Superman is fantastic. It gets this idea of Superman being as powerful as he possibly always has been in comics, and taking that and making him a very human character. Ma and Pa Kent are there the entire show. Pa Kent doesn't just collapse from a heart attack like we typically do. He's there to support his kid. They know he's Superman. But Lois Lane here was always my definitive Lois Lane, ever since I was a kid, because I didn't see the Christopher Reeve films until after I saw Superman Returns. But yeah, this was Superman to me, dude. I think it's the definitive cartoon Superman. I think Tim Daly's voice, and by the way, I thought he came back to do the Justice League cartoons when I was growing up, part of the whole Bruce Timm universe thing. I guess he didn't. The dude that took over, I remember him sounding just like Tim Daly. Tim Daly's fantastic as Superman and Clark Kent. I love the way they deal with him. I love the way they deal with his relationship, sorta, kinda, with Lois Lane. I think the voice actress for her is phenomenal, dude. The guy playing Jimmy Olsen and the design for Jimmy Olsen is my favorite Jimmy Olsen ever. I think he's the best. He's really, really well done. He's not annoying. He doesn't get in the way as like a B character or anything. He's really well done. Probably my third favorite character in the show, to be honest with you. But I guess I can kinda go into like the art style and stuff. The art style for this show is fantastic. Obviously, it looks just like Batman the Animated Series, but this is a more bright and colorful show. And it's usually a very faithfully hopeful type of show, no matter the concept, because it gets really dark a lot of the time. And this show really loves doing the whole Superman fighting doppelgangers constantly. Like every season has at least one or two episodes dedicated to that. I guess I can go into the villains from here. But by the way, before I get to that, this show has episodes that are absolutely scary and horrific, very horror themed, and I would have been terrified of them as a kid. One of them I remember seeing, matter of fact, because this show introduced me to a lot of the villains that I've never read comics with, because I haven't read a lot of Superman stuff. But sometimes this is the only adaptation of some of these characters I ever got to see as a child. For example, Toyman. Toyman creeps me out in this show. Everything from the voice actor they picked for it, who's so amazing. Amazing, dude. He's just like a ventriloquist dummy. He's like a grown man, but he's real short and tiny. And he's a threat. He's a straight-out threat to Superman. My favorite villain of the show adapted here. This was the only time I've ever seen him done. And I can't believe we still do not have a movie in live action, and I'm hoping James Gunn will do this, showing Metallo. I had forgotten all about Metallo. I love Metallo in this. Probably my second favorite villain behind Metallo was either Toyman or this other character that I love quite a bit this show introduced me to, Bizarro. I love Bizarro Superman so much. He starts out as a regular, normal clone in this, and he sees the example Superman sets, and even though he becomes deformed and he's really not all there mentally as he, kind of falls apart as a clone, he's so lovable. I just love that character, man. A lot of the other, smaller one-off villains are there's one Kryptonian chick that's in a two-parter, and then she comes back later on for another one-off episode. I'm not crazy about her. I can't remember her name. Then there's a pink guy that can I think he can transform and shapeshift and stuff, if I remember. I think he also drains energy out of things. Not crazy about him either. This show has a good tendency to reuse characters and villains, but it does it in a good way. Metallo has 5 episodes, dude. And he's great in every single one. The voice actor, I think, was Malcolm McDowell. That's right. Yeah, Malcolm McDowell played Metallo, and he was amazing. He was really, really good, and I never knew that was him as a kid. Not that I knew who Malcolm McDowell was until Halloween 2007, but still. Livewire. I really like her. You got, who else was in this that I really, really enjoyed? Brainiac. That's right. I forgot about Brainiac. This is the only thing I've ever seen Brainiac in, aside from an appearance here and there in some comics that I've read. I love Brainiac here. I think the voice is really eerie for him. But anyway, I've named off all these things, and I gotta tell you, this show being a more uplifting, heartfelt, and sometimes scary and horrific Superman adaptation, it does that so well. It does it as well as the Batman cartoon did for Batman. You know what I mean? This is definitive Superman. If you want to get a kid or an adult into Superman, show them this cartoon. The thing is, dude, and this is something I noticed the last week or so as I've been working through this show, and again, I've never seen it from beginning to end all the way through. I basically wanted to, as I would watch these episodes, right, I noticed the episodes are so dense. They have a lot of action, but they have a lot of talking too. I didn't realize how the episodes are still no longer than 20 minutes, and that's assuming you're, keeping the intro that's kind of long and the outro. If you remove that, these episodes are 18 minutes a lot of the time, or 18 and a half. The fact that they are as dense in feeling as they are, with how much they do here with emotions, with the amazing music and score I'll get more into in a second, the fact that they were able to do that the way they did and really be so satisfying in a Superman way, the way the Batman animated series was too, it's kind of shocking to me, to be honest with you. This is a fucking profound show. It is the best version in cartoon form of Superman. And the Justice League cartoon, even though Tim Daly wasn't there, it did a great job with that as well. This season even has Batman here a lot. Kevin Conroy's playing him. Of course, there was a few episodes called World's Finest that was edited into one movie that came out when I was a kid called Batman Superman, the movie or whatever. And that's great. I really love that. I don't remember it well enough to be able to make a review outright for just that movie, because I saw that like 2 weeks ago. But eventually I'll get around to rewatching that and doing a review for it straight up, because it's really solid for what it is. But Bruce Timm, he worked so hard with this dude, and like Paul Dini is super involved here too. I love Paul Dini, dude. Big comics guy for anybody who doesn't know. A lot of comics guys were involved in this. As a matter of fact, this complete series box that I had some really cool like special features things. Not a ton, but enough to make it worth buying, and I think even kids would like some of this stuff, like with interviews and whatnot. The music, I brought that up. The music for this show, man oh man. Like, I love the Christopher Reeve song, like the theme song that is basically Superman's theme song to this day, in the same way that Danny Elfman's theme song is Batman's theme song to this day, essentially. This song feels nothing like that, but it feels like a brand new Superman theme song that just, it's amazing. It's amazing, and it feels like, and I think I've heard somebody say this before, and I don't know why or who would have said it, but it feels like every note that's not played on the piano or whatever during the Christopher Reeve theme song is what they use here. It's almost like if you would put the two side by side in one video, like layer them over each other, that they would fit right into each other and make the ultimate song. That's what it feels like to me anyway. I love this theme song. I always loved when I was a kid and I would get to see replays. What am I trying to say? When they would play it again all those years later in like 2002 and 3 and 4, when Justice League would come on TV on Toonami, they would replay this show at like 5 a.m. and I would go visit my grandparents every once in a while when my parents were about to split up. And I would wake up and I would watch like G.I. Joe, the original 80s cartoon. That's like the only knowledge I have of G.I. Joe, by the way. The little tidbits of that I got to see and I enjoyed. And then they would play episodes of this at like 5 or 5:30. And I loved it. And like the end credits that they would play always gave me chills. It was just so hopeful and beautiful. The show does that so well. If you're looking for a great Superman adaptation in cartoons or anything, this is so good for that. It's not this cornball shit like the New Adventures of Superman cartoon where like every episode ends with him winking at you. I hate that shit. I watched through volume 1 of that last year, and I was going to review it for the channel, and I thought it was the first season or whatever. And I disliked it so much, and there was so much cornball crap in there, that I couldn't do it. So you'll never get a review for that for me. I think Super Friends is worse, probably, from what I remember anyway. At least that was Hanna-Barbera, right? But yeah, you'll never see a review for the New Adventures of Superman, from me. I can't stand it. So anyway, I love this show. It's fantastic. You owe it to yourself to check it out if you've never watched it before. Everything from the art style to the amazing music and stuff, the amazing villains. It's just so good, man. It's the best Superman stuff ever. As much as I love Man of Steel, this is just perfection in every possible way. Even down to the costume for Superman. Just, it's amazing. And I know we're talking about a costume in a cartoon, but it really goes far with how well and great that it just looks. Everything about it. So, let me tell my little personal story about how this show put me in the hospital as a child. I want to meet Tim Daly one day and tell him this story so I can bother him for the rest of his life. So when I was a kid, because of this show, because we didn't have Superman Returns yet, that was like 6 years after this show ended, there was a set of pajamas that were available for boys back in the day, and it was Superman, right? And I think I've seen it in a big movie at one point too, but it had like a red cape you could attach to your back and stuff, and I used to jump back and forth between my mom's dresser and my mom's bed in her old bedroom. Well, I thought I was Superman, and one day, Superman missed. He missed the bed, and I slid down the side of the bed, and back in the day, and still now, but mainly back then, we had these really sharp metal bed frames for folks who don't remember that. Bro, I swear you could lose a finger if you moved it left and right on that thing. it sliced my right leg open about 3 inches on my shin. And I remember that pain to this day. And I remember immediately getting worried, and I pulled my sleeve up, or, my pants leg up, on my Superman pajamas, and I showed my mom, and like, dude, you could see into my leg. It was horrific, and I think I was no more than like 5 or 6 when this happened. I was horrified, dude. I had never seen anything like that. I still remember this day looking at it. I don't remember what my leg looked like, but I remember it because I think I kind of partially blacked out in trauma. I think that's what happened. But I remember looking down at my horrified, mutilated leg, and like my mom being like, oh my God. And she called my dad at his job that night, and then called my grandfather, and my sweet grandfather, who was basically my dad as well. He and my mom had to drive me up to the ER that night. Interestingly enough, we ran into another cousin of mine named Mitch, who was out there for some reason. I don't remember why. But I had to get stitches for the first time ever that night, and it fucking sucked. It took like 7 doctors and nurses to hold me down, because, dude, stitches hurt like shit. I haven't had them as an adult. Hopefully I never have to. But as a child, dude, it was awful. And I don't think they were dissolvable either. I think it was like the stitches that you had to get removed at some point. That sucked so bad. I still have a scar to this day, and people constantly ask what caused that and whatnot. So needless to say, Tim Daly, with his great portrayal of Superman, and Bruce Timm making this show, they made me think I could fly. Not Christopher Reeve, not George Reeves, nobody else. Just this show. And I destroyed my leg because of them. So anyway, have you ever had a show injure you? I mean, you can say the show injured you, but it's really you. You know what I mean? Have you ever had that happen to you from something you saw on a show like Power Rangers or something, and then you got hurt really bad? I hear that happen a lot with kids who loved Power Rangers as much as I did. I never got hurt because of that, but, Dragon Ball Z, all that stuff we used to grow up on that was so, like, into fighting and whatnot. But Superman, it's the kind of thing you always heard people joke about, kids thinking they could fly and they jump off buildings and stuff. Have you ever done anything stupid and reckless because of a show or a cartoon when you were a kid or a teenager? I would love to hear your stories down below. But yeah, that's a true story, man. For a show that I love deeply, I shed blood for. So anyway, what do you think about Superman the Animated Series? Put your thoughts and comments down below. I would love to hear what you all have to say. Man, what a good show. I had such a killer time watching this week. This last few weeks, actually. Because there's like 50 episodes, so the discs just fly by, man. But, yeah, the show kind of gets emotionally overwhelming at times because of how dense these episodes are with so much in them. And for 20 minutes or 18 or whatever, dude, that's incredible that they were able to put that much effort into this and really make it that engaging and that effective, God, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm are just a hidden talent, man. People forget how damn good those guys were back in the day. And Tim Daly being Superman just makes it even better. You know what I mean? So anyway, what do you think about the show? Again, put them down below. Thank you. God bless you guys. Catch you later. And goodbye.